Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei The Beginner's Guide. Ich habe mir gedacht, da der Kanal in letzter Zeit ausschließlich Metal Gear kennt und obwohl es ein Stealth-Shooter ist, geht's ja doch teilweise recht hektisch und rabiat zur Sache, wollte ich mal wieder ein bisschen Abwechslung und habe dieses Kleinod, denke ich mal, gefunden bei Steam. Ich habe es nur ein paar Level habe ich angespielt. Ich sage euch dann Bescheid, bis wann ich das kannte. Und ich wollte es unbedingt zeigen. Da es sehr speziell ist. Also es ist im Prinzip gar kein Spiel im klassischen Sinne. Also es ist eine Art Sammlung von kleinen Spielen, die ein Entwickler quasi für sich privat gemacht hat. Ich weiß nicht, um sich selbst auszudrücken, um Dinge zu testen, um zu probieren, zu erkunden. Und ja, sein Chef oder sein Kumpel haben diese kleinen Spiele gefunden. Und daraus ein Beginner's Guide gemacht. Und wir können ein Teil davon werden. Dieser CODA, der die Spiele gemacht hat, entwickelt sich über die Zeit. Also die Spiele verändern sich. Es gibt kleine Messages. Es gibt simple Aufgaben. Es gibt Erkenntnisse. Und ich werde relativ wenig sagen. Also relativ. Ich werde kommentieren, was ich kommentieren kann. Aber es wird sehr viel kommentiert werden vom Spiel selber. Das werdet ihr auch gleich sehen. Es ist komplett auf Englisch. Es gibt allerdings deutsche Untertitel. Sollte kein Problem sein. Und ja, die ersten Level, die ich angespielt habe, waren recht interessant, muss ich sagen. So, und ich hoffe mal, dass ihr Bock habt, euch ein bisschen zu entspannen. Mit mir hier auf dem Kanal und The Beginner's Guide. Wir starten.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Wreden. I wrote the Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named CODA. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met CODA in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just CODA learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of CODA's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, CODA starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to CODA. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at CODA's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Ja, so beginnt die Reise in den Programmierverstand von CODA. Legen wir mal los.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift destruction imminent.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from CODA.
Aha. Kann ich nicht durch. Ich kann schießen, aber ohne Sound. Nachladen kann ich auch nicht. Wirkt uns sehr hektisch auf jeden Fall.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life forms inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe CODA thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized.
No, ein Durchgang.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Ja. Ist eine recht grobe Skybox, wenn ich das mal sagen darf. Man sieht genau die Ränder.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Oh, jetzt hat der Typ uns geskippt. Okay.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Ja, oh. Hallo?
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Ja, wir haben wohl keine Wahl.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what CODA had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Okay, wir haben noch einen Versuch. Naja. Auf die Freundschaft.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but CODA identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain, He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind. Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Ich wollte es gerade sagen. Oh, hallo. Die Vergangenheit lag hinter ihr. Sehr kurioses Feeling auf jeden Fall.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. CODA is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Doch die Zukunft war noch nicht zu sehen. Warum ändert sich die Zukunft ständig? Very deep, wenn ich das sagen darf. Wenn sie stehen bleibt und sich umsieht, wird es klarer. Ist schon krass hier. Aber wenn die Zukunft immer hinter ihr liegt, wie soll sie dann die Kraft finden? Was für eine Kraft? Sich hier zu stellen.
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Okay, scary. Ah, wir können nochmal laufen. Du betrittst nun.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
Okay.
Oftentimes, CODA would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
So,
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Also was ich sagen wollte, das ist jetzt das letzte Level oder Spiel, was ich gespielt habe. Sobald wir da oben in dem Raum sind, ab dem Zeitpunkt ist auch alles für mich neu. Und das war auch der Zeitpunkt, wo ich festgestellt habe, dass ich das unbedingt Let's Playen muss. Oder will, um es mir selber so ein bisschen die Erfahrung zu bewahren. Die Gefühle. Ihr werdet schon sehen, was ich damit meine. Noch ein paar Schritte. Noch ein paar Schritte.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if CODA's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Genau das.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games. CODA would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Das hier habe ich schon gesehen, das ist der letzte Moment, den ich schon kenne. Auf die Fische, fertig, los. Okay. Also für die Leute, die das jetzt nicht sehen, das scheint so, als wäre es die gute alte Source Engine aus Half-Life 2.
Well, this is new for CODA. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Aha.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon.
Okay.
We're gonna see it a lot.
Das war jetzt mehr oder weniger Glück. Ich finde die Musik immer sehr erhaben.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Oh, fuck.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Interessant. Oh, Teil 2. Du verlässt nun. Okay.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that CODA believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Oben geblieben ist noch keiner. Oh. Okay, es ist tatsächlich eine Art Hügel hier.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Okay.
To make all of these games, CODA is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of CODA's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in CODA's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Oh. Das ist auch auf jeden Fall interessant. Ich meine, er hat sich hier die Zeit genommen, das hier alles zu machen. Einfach so, für sich. Ich glaube, die Geduld hätte ich nicht, wenn ich ehrlich bin. Okay, gehen wir mal runter.